Ever since Bram Stoker wrote Dracula in 1897, the world has been held enthralled by the idea of vampires roaming the streets at night, searching for victims to feed their hunger for everlasting youth.
The character seems to have an enormous vitality of his own. He's immortal, of course, and the reinterpretations, the reworkings of the material, retellings of the story are just legion. If you look at the cinematic versions alone, there are hundreds.
During the last century, Bram Stoker's original story was reworked for the big screen almost 200 times and spawned dozens of other vampire-themed films like Nosferatu, Daughters of Darkness, Interview with a Vampire, From Dusk Till Dawn, and Blade. Since the year 2000 alone, there have been more than 50 new films about vampires. One of the first cabs off the rank was 2002's Queen of the Damned, starring Stuart Townsend as a vampire who rises from the grave to become a 90s rock star. The film was adapted from two of the novels in Anne Rice's popular Vampire Chronicles, which centers on the adventures of a centuries-old vampire called Lestat. The same character caught the imagination of famous songwriting duo Elton John and Bernie Taupin.
Certain things to you that you read, and the great things about a book and the great things about books is that you visualize what's gone on the printed page. Mm-hmm. Some of them are better than others in that respect, but Interview with the Vampire was the first. It was a unique book, as I said before. It made you, at the end, want to be a vampire, which is an incredible thing. And most people, vampires are scary and horrible.
He and Bernie adapted the book into a musical simply called Lestat, which didn't quite manage to get its teeth into a good run on Broadway. 3 years later, a company in Germany decided to base a musical on the cult 1967 film Dance of the Vampires, complete with plenty of blood, vampire teeth, and horror. At least it got the thumbs up from the original film's director.
There's a lot of fun because of the nature of the subject. It's a spoof. It's really, in certain sense, a satire on the vampire story.
Mixing the vampire genre up with some werewolf action, the Underworld series of films have made a huge star of its female lead, Kate Beckinsale. Before filming began on the first film back in 2002, Kate was used to rather more feminine, sedate roles.
I mean, yeah, you have to identify with every character that you play. I have to say this is quite a stretch for me. I'm more of a girly girl than this. So, I'm kind of impressed I pulled it off, I have to say.
By the time it came round to shooting Underworld Evolution 3 years later, she'd made the leather-clad Celine her own, and her werewolf co-star, Scott Speedman, understood the appeal of the new wave of vampire films.
And Kate's, she's pretty much a movie star, and she looks good in that leather outfit, and I think people really want to check that out. I think people love that vampire stuff, and there's a kind of an interesting new sort of, this new kind of action stuff that's along with this movie that kind of plays well.
But it's not just through the realms of books, film, and theater that vampires have been seeping into our consciousness. They have also become the main players in a rash of new video games, like Vampire: The Eternal Struggle, Vampire: The Masquerade, Vampire Hunter D, and Blood Rain, which became so popular it was turned into a movie of the same name starring Christiana Loken.
Well, my character Rain is a Damphir, which means that she's half vampire, half human. So she's a bit like Vampire with heart. So she'll have these blood rage, bloodlust moments, and then she'll feel remorse about it. So she definitely has a strong human quality.
Perhaps it's this age-old struggle between who we are and what we'd like to be that provides the key to our eternal fascination with the supernatural powers and everlasting youth of vampires.